Hello, my name is KJ Davis. I am an indie author and founder of A Little Help Company, who is one of the sponsors for CantCon 2026.
Okay, and so I thought I could ask you all about like, so what does the company do? But I thought an interesting thing kind of might be in 2024 when there was a booth there, and I talked to you then about like what was going to happen at this booth. Maybe you could kind of explain what did A Little Help do at their booth that's kind of different from other people's booths, and I want to know back in 2024, how did it go with that booth?
Okay. Well, there were so many wonderful vendors and exhibitors at the event, and I just love the event. But as far as what we do and what we offer, A Little Help is just like the name says. We provide basically boutique services for up and coming creatives, new indie authors, new indie artists, voice actors, anyone trying to get into the creative scene in a more business fashion, or they like their widget or their small business and they just need a little bit of help to get going. And that's what we provide. So when we come to an event like the CantCon and we request and register for a booth, we will have A Little Help as a booth, but we're sponsoring a creative. So we sponsored an author, a small business owner, an artist, and there were a couple of small business individuals that were, and you can take Black Cat off the podcast bingo.
No, you can't. It's the best part. Having cats that wander. I have a cat. It infuriates me. When I podcast, comes right steps. Doesn't just walk around the keyboard. Steps on the keys. You get the forward slash forward slash forward slash forward slash forward slash. Oh yeah,
Yep.
I feel you. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
This
funny.
is Romeo. Romeo. Everyone. Romeo.
Yep, Romeo being annoying.
Yes. So we have our primary booth, and of course, we promote assistance for any indie creatives that come by and are interested in help. But our main focus when we go to an event is to help debut or help with that extra little public nudge into the business realm for new creatives or new small business owners. This year, we're very excited. We've got a couple of new authors and new books. I have a new book that's being published. I have a new children's book author that's coming onto the scene with their very first book. I have a new small business owner here in the Olathe Johnson County area that does little mixes, spices, and different things like that in cute little mason jars.
Which is
And
smell mix or ingredient
uh,
mix?
like ingredient mixes,
Oh,
and they're
nice.
all allergen and gluten free. She is on it as far as making sure that everything is labeled properly because her family has specific allergens. So it's just wonderful. And so those are just a couple of the ones that we're going to be doing, and they'll either cycle through each day or some might be able to stay all weekend. It's an opportunity for these indies that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. These are brand new small business owners, small indies that are just getting their feet into the shallow end of publishing or presenting their artwork into the public eye.
Let me ask, so the online support and the whatever, the old fashioned, there used to be people would send out press releases, marketing firms. Now it's like when I go to your website, there's like a marketplace of all the people you're helping and working with and partnering with. So that's one way. But then obviously people may not be comfortable with digital marketing. So you're helping them with that. But then this thing about where I go to a conference and then I sit at the booth and I'm supposed to tell people about what I do and why I like this book or whether I like this. Yes, exactly. As you just like mime to like, I'm chewing my fingernails in intense anxiety.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering for the people, how much of the support you offer is, I think you mentioned somewhere in the soft or gentle. You've never been to a convention before. You've never had to stand or sit in front of people and tell them about your thing and explain it and then have the conversations back and forth. What do you do to kind of get people prepared? And in 2024, if there are people who are really nervous about it, who showed up at your booth, what did it look like beforehand? And then how did it go for them?
We take the same approach that a family would take with a neuro individual. We call it neurospicy. It's
But you're like, do I
neurodivergent.
call it neurodivergent? Do I call it neurospicy? What do I want to call it? Yeah, yeah.
So our family is neurospicy, and so we understand getting overstimulated. We understand new environments and the anxiety that goes along with that. So we take the same approach, or I take the same approach with my clients. That if they do, I approach them and offer them the position. If they take that offer and become one of the featured sponsorships, then I walk them through the process. This is what you can expect. This is how we're going to set you up. I give them a very clear understanding of how their area on the booth is going to be set up so that they have something grounded. I even give them, we work together building up to the event on, okay, let's make miniature little scripts. So if someone asks, most of the time, if someone comes by, a children's book author and the book's on the table, so who did your illustrations, or how, what's the age range for that, typical questions that would go with that particular creative. And so we give them a kind of a little cheat sheet. And then throughout the event, we just prepare them. We get them comfortable. I will show them images of the space that I've taken before in prior years, or I've gone online and looked at the hotel. And so we just kind of build up and get that comfort level. Then when it's there, they help us. I encourage everyone to help us set up so that they can see. And when they get there, we have a talk, kind of a little pep rally thing. And then throughout the whole evening or afternoon, even if it's just a tap and then run away back home and hide under the covers, I'm there to encourage them. We have little squishies that we make sure that they have, any type of under the table thing. We give them breaks. We make sure they have water. It's very much like a micro community of neurospicy individuals that are all helping each other out. And we talk to each other, and as people pass and we talk to them, we pass them. It's kind of funny because it might start on one end. I'll do my spiel about my art or my book or a little H, and it's like, by the way, there's an artist right here, and then they'll go to the artist. By the way, there's a cook right there, and it kind of, we bounce each other down the table. It's kind of funny, and we just help each other out, get through it, and then afterwards we kind of have cool down. We'll go get a smoothie or go to an ice cream shop or something like that. Just kind of wind down and everything else, so that it's kind of a process.
Is there, you mentioned like the minimum viable product is, look, come to the convention and just be there for, if you can only be there for a minute, then you're there for a minute. Come and see what the convention looks like and be like, nah, I don't want to do this. And you're like, yay, congratulations. You showed up to the busy thing you didn't want to come to. Even
Exactly.
if you didn't want to be here, you showed up, you evaluated it, and you left. That's better than just staying at home afraid, like, I don't even want to try. So did you have anybody, do you have anybody who overdoes it, or somebody who has like, again, they get overstimulated and they don't want to leave? Or, and what does that look like if somebody kind of just gets, but they're trying to push themselves, they're trying to be disciplined and say, I want to stay here even though I'm starting to get the sweats and I'm shaking and I don't want to be here, but I'm going to force myself because I'm a grown up and I have a grown up product and I want to talk to other grown ups about my product.
That's right. I want to be an adultier adult.
That's right.
Yes. Well, first off, guilty as charged. Hi, my name is KJ.
You're
Feel
like,
like
I've
I'm
done
being
this. I
me.
have in fact pushed myself too far in order to be to fully adult at this thing. I'm a grown up. I'm
That's
capable.
it.
I'm going to do this.
That's it. So, a perfect example in 24, we had a brand new artist come on the market that wanted to do body art. They had their ink pens. It was kind of the temporary tattoo ink pens, and they were doing a great job when they were able to focus on their art. And they got so many compliments. They actually started getting people coming by and wanting to do. And of course, they were definitely on the spectrum, mid range to high range, and they were getting a little overstimulated, but they wanted to stay the whole day. That was their big goal. And
Okay.
I would come by and say, how are you doing? You got the water, and we go through the spiel. And they're like, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. But I could tell they were just hanging on by threads because they were just overstimulated and everything else. So, at that point, I kind of turned into a little mama bear. That's why I have my bear necklace. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna need you to go grab me. Here's $5. Go grab me something from the concession stand because I'm totally out of water, which I completely fibbed. So if they see this podcast, they'll know I fibbed. But you know, I sent them off, and they were able to get out of the booth. And then a little bit later, one of my other cohorts that's done an event like this before, and they were the ones that I sent off. They knew my trick. They took that artist and they just went around and kind of communed with the others. CanCon, I think, is an amazing event for helping newbies cut their teeth because the atmosphere is not just opening for the visitors, but there is a completely hidden, well, not so much hidden, but another subculture just within the vendors and exhibitors that is amazing. I've never seen that in any other event. And there's even this unspoken game that gonna reach over here that someone started. I don't know who, but I just love it. You get ducked at your event. You'll get these little tchotchkes,
Okay,
these
little
little
tiny
things,
rubber duck.
itty little things. It started out with rubber duckies, and then someone brought a whole bunch of just these other little things. They were in their grab bag,
Yeah.
and every once in a while, when you're talking with your clients or your visitors at the table, you'd look down and you'd have another little thing, which means you got tagged by another exhibitor. And so this game, this unknown game, I don't even think the hosts know about this, but it's between all of the exhibitors. We gift. It's sort of like the little penguin pebbles, and just these little fairy gifts. We would go around to each exhibitor, and throughout the day, that was such a lovely, subtle, tiny little reminder that you're not alone, and smile, and it just broke that tension. So we would, you know, make sure that the little penguin pebbles got to the nervous artists. They started actually doing their art and drawing based off of the pebbles and the little things. I've got a bunch of them here. This is my little jar for memories and stuff, and it turned out really great. And I think that is a beautiful secret, maybe not so secret, thing that the exhibitors do at this event that I've never seen at any other event.
I want to ask about that because I'm curious from my perspective. So I've been to CantCon a lot of times as occasionally a volunteer, usually a pre-volunteer, but occasionally a volunteer, but usually just playing. I don't like to run
Mhm.
anything. It creates too much anxiety for me. It stresses me out. So I
Yep.
will just go play stuff. But I notice all these tables, you kind of get invested in a table and then everybody disappears. And if you are in some way needing some deeper connection, I can tell the people who run the games oftentimes are not necessarily connecting with the other GMs, and the players are not necessarily connecting with other players, especially if they haven't met people from years before. They don't know people. So I can tell it can be hard. These games come together and then they just dissipate like smoke. And I think some people are fine with that. I come in, the game's gone, I leave, and I think other people are left with some sense of like, oh, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I don't know what to do. I have this
Right.
break between the next game. So I'm
Right.
curious from your perspective, how does whatever this is developed, where it seems like the vendors are talking to each other, looking at each other, kind of trying to support each other in this non aggressive, super extroverted way. Like, I just want to,
Right.
you were seen. Like, I see you. All right. I see you.
Like the
Um,
little thing.
yeah, I don't think that happens a lot for any of the constituents. So, have you been to conferences where it sounds like you've been to conferences where it felt different? How do the vendors act at like the average conference or one that's not like CanCon?
Well, to go an even larger one, Planet Comic Con. Now that is an extreme
That's a
parallel
big one
because
at the
that is
convention center.
massive.
Yeah.
Yes, it is massive. And it's a theme park attraction almost. And whether you're a visitor or an exhibitor, there's just so much that goes on at those. Um, I find that with those, when you meet and talk with your fellow neighbors, if you're an exhibitor, that's great, but it's just so massive, and the visitors are trying to take in everything, and there's just so much. You almost can't take in Planet Comic Con even in the 3 days that it's allowed. You almost need an entire week to do it, and you're always left with, oh, I missed this, or I didn't see that, did you see that? So you have to kind of compare notes with your friends afterwards. I find that In that situation, you might be able to do a mini little community with just the neighbors, but it's really, really hard to get that grassroots connection that I found at CantCon. And not just because CantCon is smaller. I just think it's there's so much to do, and everyone wants to try and do everything that they feel kind of rushed. So they're like, yes, I want to see your booth, but I want to see that one. And it's like ADHD on crack, if I can say that. Sorry. You might have to blurt that out. But you know, you're seeing all of this stuff, and there's lights and there's sounds and blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, talk to me about your boat. You've got 5 seconds. Okay, go on. So, even the best. I don't think Brandon Sanderson could give an elevator speech for 5 to 10 seconds, but that's kind of what you have to do with the bigger ones. And even another small one, I've gone to Peaceworks, which is an outdoor art festival here in the Kansas City area. It's close to the Plaza area. Beautiful event, lots of artists because that's the focus. And that is along the same kind of size as CantCon. CantCon's inside, that one's art. And you do still get that more relaxed feel, and you can communicate with your fellow vendors and everything else, but everyone's focused on the people as they pass through the park. And I I hate to say that CantCon leads the pack with this, because I'm sure there are other conventions where they foster that community and helpful spirit amongst the exhibitors, but I just really don't see that fostering with any other event other than CantCon. And maybe it's because CantCon's focus is not so much on selling art or selling books or whatever. It's all about games, and games require teamwork and people coming together. So maybe that's the hidden secret sauce that CantCon has that somebody else doesn't. And that might be what I'm seeing.
That it's not, I see what you're saying, that it's not just commerce. I mean, among the people who are selling and buying there, that's a part of it, but the bulk of CantCon are a bunch of volunteer players, consumers of
Yeah.
games, and then volunteer game masters, again, who are not, they're not there to make, some of them, maybe they can make some money. There's some pay games. I don't know if it's fully nonprofit, if they get a cut, but most people, most of the game masters who are running games, just spend hours of their time prepping and then hours of their time running it, and they don't make any money. So maybe you're right. Maybe there's some level of, there's volunteerism that runs along with commerce kind of mixed together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That it's not just like, we know we're putting on this event because you people need to sell stuff, and that is the reason we're putting this event on. So that's a
Right.
whole nother pressure and a whole nother thing.
Right. Right.
The other thing I've noticed too, and I've interacted with the people who organize CantCon for years now, and I think in general, I don't know these people deeply personally, but I've had longer conversations with a few of them, and they seem, so they're very kind of adult. They're very understanding of people, both super sophisticated people who are in total control and highly capable, and people who, whatever, I use the word weird. I consider myself weird, but some people consider that bad. Special, unique. I'm like, weird is, I like weird, but people who are not, they're not quite like everyone else, that
Right.
they seem to, they're good listeners. The people who are organizing, the people that they have at the tables doing registration and stuff, it's family members of organizers. It's like kind of like a family affair, and the people are good listeners, and they're not rushing people through, and it's just an overall, it's a nice, just like you said, even tempered vibe, at least that I see from them. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. It's very comforting. You still get the visitors, and you're still open enough where the visitors know there's the game section, and when you get into the exhibitors, someone is selling something, but
Totally.
it's not that pressure of you've got to sell and there's a bottom line and that's all we're doing. Not to say that other events aren't like that. It's just I feel like you said that more comfort, grassroots, small community when I think about CantCon as opposed to another one.
Other than the fact that the menu of people who will be at the little help tables will be different. is there anything what should people look for? People are coming to CantCon and they're like, I need to look out for a little help. What's going to be a little help? And you don't have to, if I have a secret I don't want to tell anybody about, but will it be different than 2024? And so what can people expect if they walk in and ask, where's a little help? What's going on here?
Well, there will be a couple of new things. So, like I said, we've got some new debuters that are going to be there. I'm going to be there with not only as founder of A Little Help, but my own book. Shameless plug. There it is. But I will be publishing my next iteration in my series. And you're going to be able to see a different look all over. We kind of were just starting to feel get test the waters for some of the branding back in 24. We settled down on a lot of decisions. We've nixed some that just weren't going in the right direction we wanted to, and really kind of honed in on the principles that we want. And the big thing that you'll see a lot of things talking about the hug principle, and that's a foundational part of A Little Help. It's honor, understand, and guide. So you honor your clients and yourself. There's two sides of that coin, and then you understand, and through leadership and communication, and then you guide them through what your purpose is or what their goals are. And the tagline for that is, you can't give a hug without getting one in return. So uh, that's kind of the philosophy as A Little Help, is that we help each other to help everyone succeed. The One Drop in the Ocean Raises, another favorite book of mine. So it's helping each other out so that we can all succeed. And there's going to be more uh, more branding that's along those lines.
Okay, I am curious about that because there are some booths that sometimes are they're very elaborate, beautiful, a beautiful retail space or a beautiful creative space. And I don't know, all the excellent branding doesn't necessarily grab me, but I know it really does grab other people. So as you talk about thinking about marketing and branding of possibly yourself online, and then also what the booth looks like, what does that shift look like? And did you see in the earliest iterations of setting this up at cons, did you see, like, we felt like people didn't understand what the banner was, or we felt like people didn't understand what we were doing? What's like the biggest tweak you've made where you're like, I think if people look at the booth now, they're going to understand better this?
Right. We in the past we kind of tried to go, and there's Mal.
There's the other cat.
No, she likes to edit books, so we're gonna put her over here. No
She's
walking
not a
on the
good,
keyboard.
I'm assuming she's not a very good editor, but she does like to put her paws on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
There's that, like you said, the multiple forward slashes, forward slash, forward slash.
Yep.
So, with before, we wanted to make sure that foundationally, going back to that hug principle, that we were all encompassing. So our color scheme, it's still rainbowish kind of color splotches, but we wanted to hone in on more of a subtle, kind of more of an array, blend or a fade of colors, and then not so much tons of icons. It was a little confusing in the beginning, and we're focusing more on that. We have our logo is two hands holding each other in the shape of a heart, and so we're really focusing on that image and just keeping it simple, because the hands uh, really do portray that helpfulness across boards, regardless of whether you're an author, you're an artist, a small business owner. It's still helping hands. So that's what we're leaning more towards, the helping hands and the logo. We're still doing the rainbow effect, but it's not as chaotic. It's going to be a little bit more subtle. And for what they can expect at our booth, the other big thing is we used to have these banners that laid on the table that would highlight the author, the artist, the small business owner. And a lot of people were saying we got the banner for the author and the artist, but we didn't get, because it said SBO, which is
Yes.
kind of a term more in business communities for a small business owner, but for a creative community, they didn't know what that meant. So
Okay.
we're going to change some of those banners to be a little bit clearer. We're probably just going to have logos, something very simple that you would see like on a phone, that this is an artist, a paintbrush or something. This is an author, a book, and, a little house or a shop for
Tell
the
me,
small
now
businesses.
that you have a cat icon, right? Surely, are you gonna do you have any? This is a total tangent. Do you have cats have you tried to get your cats leash trained, harness trained out in public? My cat will not do this. It's not a go. I've never had a cat that will, but we see all these internet videos as I'm watching these cats that are very happy to be in your house. Do you have ever
Yes.
tried them to take outside? Like I took them to the park to see what would happen? Okay.
Well, we do have one more cat. Ironically
Okay.
enough, we have another one, and she is the diva of the house. She likes people in person. She knows that anytime I'm talking on my Zoom calls or my Brave calls with my clients, that they're not here. So she doesn't bother with this because it's beneath her.
Yeah.
But when you walk in the front door, she is all about you adoring her. And I've tried a couple of times to take her out so that she could be adored by the masses, but she doesn't like that. She likes being adored on her terms only. And so she's complete diva. She's part Maine Coon and part just mom got out of the house, so we don't know. But
Yeah.
she is all attitude. And this one, usually, when I start doing meetings and working on my book, she is actually my creative muse, Mewse. And she likes helping me write and edit. So that's what she's thinking, is that I'm writing right now. I'm not
Do
writing.
not find the
But
cats get in the way. So I have meetings or I'm trying to write something on the computer and the cat wants to be next to the keyboard, in front of the keyboard, on the keyboard, in my lap, in my mouse way, so I can't use the mouse properly.
yep.
Does she just have do the cats have a way? Do the two of you sort of like the two hands of your logo just fit together in a certain way where you can continue to work at maximum efficiency with the cat there? Or do you have to work around the cat?
Yes. Once my Mao,
Uh huh.
Mau is her name, Mao. It's the Egyptian name for cat. So
Yeah.
I basically named my cat. Let's
Okay.
see if this is going to get you a little dizzy. Um,
Mm.
that
Okay.
is that's my
That's either a
appeasement.
cat bed or the world's biggest dice tray, but it's a cat bed.
Yes,
It's a cat bed.
that
Okay.
is a warming cat bed with a fluffy
Warming.
liner, and
Whoa.
so that is the appeasement for my
Okay.
furry editor, and so she is right here. So once she goes back and forth a couple of times and reminds me that I am her human, then she settles down and she will just chirp at me when I'm typing, and she feels
Okay.
like she needs to give her 2 cents to my writing.
So you let her in, so there's some interruption in the beginning, but then you have the spot where she needs to go and you could usher. I saw you doing the same thing I do with my cat where you're pushing your cat's butt in the direction you want it to go, like just go that way. Okay.
Yep,
Heated
there's
cat
an
bed. That's pretty
appeasement
primo.
factor.
Okay. That's
And
pretty
the
awesome.
other cats, ironically enough, the other two cats are there's a window seat so they can look out and look at the squirrels, and then there's another fuzzy seat over there. So I've actually got 3 different appeasement sections where they can go.
Okay, appeasement sections. I like that. Yes, it's bad from personal experience. It's bad when your single cat gets used to being in your lap, and it's fine when you're on Zoom calls, but then you have to type, and in the lap doesn't work. Then there's confusion because I thought I was allowed in your lap, and you're like, well, yes, but not all the time, and only
Yep.
sometimes, and not now. So then it's a whole confusion. Yeah.
That was my answer to especially when I was in the midst of my writing for my second book, because you get in the zone and you're just typing away, and all of a sudden I've got a cat in front of me. So
Yes.
that was my, okay, you can be here, you can be close to my writing, but not on my keyboard.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, Last question about the booth. I'm curious. I have a vision for what it looks like with the people who are there and they're talking about their product and they have this beautiful way of they feel like they find out they're part of this kind of this friendly Can'tCon vendor culture. And then also the culture of the people who are there at a table with them from a little help. They hand off like, and if you thought I was interesting, just wait till you hear from this person over here, which is also a nice way of saying, That's a beautiful way of being like, okay, I'm all done with this conversation. Don't you want to talk to this person? Great. Go talk to that person. Love you, but
That
okay, time to, okay. Um,
that is another secret that we use,
it's a good
especially for
idea.
neurospicy individuals, is if you have your limit and you're getting nervous, say, "Oh, by the way," and then you usher them down.
Is there anything? I think I remember that there was some idea that you wanted to be, you also wanted the booth to be friendly for people, other neurodivergent, neurospicy, people who are getting overwhelmed. There was some way in which you wanted to be. Is the booth also envisioned to be friendly to gamers or game masters who want some break from the craziness? And if so, what does that look like?
Yes. Last year we had enough space that we kind of moved the table slightly in and off to the side. And we do hope to do the same thing where we're going to offer kind of a quiet zone or a checkout, if need be, a kind of a safe environment. And we'll have like a bean bag or something where they can just sit. And at 24, I believe we were working with the host, and they said that they actually had offered a quiet room or something of a space off to the side for individuals that were on the spectrum that were just getting overstimulated and they needed to go someplace. So we cut back on what we had planned on doing, knowing that it was there, and then
Yeah.
we just said, if you're getting overstimulated, and we found out where it was on the map, so we made a couple of extra copies of the map and we highlighted the quiet room. And I am first aid qualified. My husband is, and a couple of other individuals that will be in and out of the booth are. So we also make sure to let them know we have our little first aid symbol just kind of subtly on the table somewhere. But if you need a band-aid or whatever, we can help with that. And so we have that space just pretty much along the same lines as our title, a little help. If you just need a little help, if you just need a moment to collect your thoughts, to de-stimulate, this area is for you. We're not going to try and sell you anything. Just take a moment, reset, and then go back out and have fun with your games.
Okay, my last question. You kind of joked like, oh, I don't want to self promote too much, but I am curious about. So I'll ask this question. There is a lot of genre fiction in the world, and it's become easier to produce a lot of it and get access to a lot of it, all the way from professionally written stuff at the major publishers to people who are self publishing or working with just one editor and then self publishing the book, all the way to the stuff like my 17-year-old daughter will read like fanfic. And fanfic is basically just like, I love a
Um,
property so much that I'm just writing stuff in the thing. And she reads fanfic about One Direction members. Okay. So it's not even science fiction. It's just, so there are words, there are fictional words about anything in the universe you want on the internet. What inspired you to be like, the world is full of fantasy, science fiction, speculative fiction? I'm like, but I'm still so motivated. I want to write this one. And I ask, what motivates you to keep writing fantasy and a series when,
mhm.
like, you just, I don't know, you just think, oh, the world is so full of all this fiction.
Well, I started writing actually many moons
Okay.
ago when I was a knee high to a grasshopper. I was definitely, well, I'm a Gen Xer that was undiagnosed. That's basically the bottom line of that. So back in the day, they didn't have labels or accommodations and stuff like that. And uh, not I did not have the greatest experience in school, let's just put it that way. So I always had a love for books. I had a love for reading and writing. My mom even will attest to today that I had notebooks all over the place. And some of them I ferreted away. Those were my secret stories. And then I would just write something and doodle. And I eventually developed this secret world in my head, in my imagination, that was my go-to away from what I was dealing with in school and home and the traumas and everything else. And I know this sounds like, pathetic Harry Potter underneath. It's stairs, but honest, this is true. I developed my own friends because I didn't have any. And so we would go on adventures and we would, as I got older, we would tackle problems and deal with certain things in my stories that I was dealing with in real life, but I would get a chance to redo it with people to help me. So it was kind of my therapy. So fast forward many, like I said, moons, several moons later. Um, I'm writing, and I thought I had put away one of my journals as an adult, married with kids. And my husband came across it and he started reading and he said, "You have got to publish. This is good." And I was like, "Oh, just give me the notebook back. Never mind." And so he pushed me and pushed me, and I did a short story. Ironically enough, you're going to love this for CantCon. We have a D&D group that meets every Sunday, and I did a short story about our characters in the game that we were currently doing, kind of as a prologue, or yeah, afterwards, because we had just finished it up. So I had written the story, and they all agreed that it was fabulous and I should publish. And 2016, my husband wouldn't give up, so that's when I started writing, taking all of my stories that I had built up since an early childhood and turning it into something that could be published. In my eyes, I am a bit of a perfectionist. But yeah, 2016, and then in 20, my first book was published in 22. My second, that was a precursor to the main book. That Awakening was published in 23, and I've got Passages, which is book 2 of the series, coming out this year. So life and family and kids, I'm not publishing, right off the bat, but I fall into the category of a descriptive writer. So think of, how it was about a year and a half between J.K. Rowling's books, along those lines, or Brandon Sanderson's larger books, the Aragon series. I am a fantasy sci-fi crossover, so it's kind of a weird genre. I'm not the only one out there. There are plenty in that genre. I like to weave real science in my science fiction. So my husband absolutely loves my office. You kind of got a little hint of that when I showed you the cat bed, but I will go on to places like NASA and look up things like actual warp theory that they published. And
Yeah.
this is in work field mechanics Starship Symposium in Florida of 2011, when they were actually coming up with this stuff. So, and I put that into my books. Bit of a nerd. No, a lot of a nerd. So
Can I ask?
I've always
Yeah.
had, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I was just wondering. I'm fascinated about that you had this stuff and you kind of put it away because this was stuff that allowed you to cope when you were younger, and that's what it
Mhm.
felt like. And you're like, that's what it was, and so it was great for the time, and that's fine. And then a fresh eyes come and look at it and say, oh no, this is compelling stuff. When you pulled it out and decided, you also said I'm a perfectionist. What did you do to it to take it from the level of pre-adolescent and adolescent um, coping stuff that helped me emotionally at a certain time and turn it into whatever the work of art you want to present to the world? What kind of did that look like?
Well, a lot of it was going back and realizing that eventually I needed a period or a comma because it's a lot of run-on sentences.
Okay, so
For
grammar and
those kids who
punctuation.
get into
Okay.
yeah, grammar and punctuation are out. I am definitely in the world of art writing. It's called pantster. I just write. I word vomit, and then I go back months or years later, and it's like, oh wow, this is great, but let's make this not one giant sentence. So, grammar and editing was a thing, but going back and just making sure that the characters that I had, because I would write the words on paper, but not very much detail because I already knew them on the inside. It's like you describing a friend to yourself. So you're not going to go into the details. You're just writing in your journal, oh, Joe went with me to the hardware store. Well, who is this Joe? What does Joe look like? Is he tall? Is he short? What are his feelings and everything else? So I had to kind of flesh out and remind myself, when I'm writing for someone else, they can't hear the voices in my head. So I've got to describe these characters a little bit more in detail. And as I started getting into and sharing the details I started realizing that these characters are amazingly deep. And some of them are dealing with these traumatic things or prejudices or differences. And as I started, it's sort of like taking one of those adult coloring books and adding in color. The details are there, it just needed color.
Is there anything that was too much that when you went back and looked at the stuff, there's some stuff that parts of the plot or characters or things that happened or scenes that you decided this it's too raw, it's too visceral. I don't this is not something for other people. It doesn't need to be here. This was for me at that moment and I need to take that out.
Yes, to a point.
Okay.
I do have certain things that this series is not for young children. If it were a movie, I'd definitely put it in the PG-13 for a couple of reasons. One, it does touch on subjects that are touchy. And it does get into the questionable scenes. I do fade to black. I don't describe in detail the explicitness or the murder scene or whatever, but it's there. I don't shy away from it either. The bad guys are definitely bad. You can tell. They do nasty things. And the people that are suffering from certain traumas, or the fact that it is military sci-fi, it's kind of a joke. I have the content warning up front that a lot of books now have, and my foul language is I rephrased it to authentic military jargon.
Okay.
So, think of your uncle who's a sailor who curses like a sailor, and that's my book. Some of my characters curse like a sailor. So, that's the authentic military jargon. And so, things are left in, some things are brought up, like you said, to more of an adult perspective on it because it was from a child and or growing up an adolescent. I still wanted to share those things, well, to be honest, not so much exposing myself, but also being respectful and kind of along the lines of going back to that hug principle, honoring those who had also been through that. There are scenes that are talking about, assault or I don't know if you can say the shooty with the pew pew and the falling over. So I won't say it on the podcast, but you can put those together.
Yeah.
So I wanted to honor those who had dealt with situations like that while still being in a place that's, look, you're not alone. Let's go through this plot line. Let's go through this story and see how these characters go, knowing that you're not alone and I'm going to still respect what you went through, what I went through, and let's just enjoy the story as it develops.
Does your series have a close for sure? In other words, is this Babylon 5, which is envisioned as X number of seasons? It has a beginning, middle, and an end, close. Or is it like, I don't know where it's going? It could go lots of ways.
It has very much in Pantser style. It has a rough outline, but it is a very fluid. My outline is in dry erase form.
Okay.
There is a foundational there is a foundational direction that I'm going in. All of these are called, the series is called the Aether Star Chronicles. And so each one follows a different star. And what it is I took 5 of Earth's primary myths that you can find in multiple different cultures, all pretty much talking about the same thing. And I've always been fascinated with this unique phenomenon across our globe. So you take Avalon, you take this myth of this elven or special city that you go there and there's healing properties and there's elves or there's these beautiful creatures. And you've got Avalon is mentioned in the Arthurian legends, but it also there's another one that's mentioned in Indian culture that is very much similar to the Avalon. They name it by something else, but it's along those lines. So I took Avalon, Atlantis, Shangri-La, Valhalla, and Haven as that one is probably not going to be that. I'm thinking of something more along the lines of the one of the Mayan culture references, but basically the heaven one. I'm also looking at for the fifth one, probably Mount Olympus. But the idea is that all of these things that we've seen in different cultures, that the mythos of them are actually real places, and the reason why they're not here is they're simply spaceships that left.
I feel like that idea, that I think that that idea has a rich history in both old genre fiction as well as like new stuff. I think is stuff that people have done, especially about gods and religion, about like gods get their power, how many people believe them, kind of like a Neil Gaiman thing, and like all these things, kind of imagining what the Christian apocalypse looks like stuff, good omens, like what would trigger that, and what would Satan be like, and what are the angels like, blah blah blah. Um,
Right.
yeah, that's interesting. And the stuff that comes up in the MCU about the fact that what is the land of these Norse gods? Oh, it's a land of, just as you said, incredible science, basically a higher
Right.
level of science and power than we have access to. That's
Right.
interesting.
My magic in my books are actually just undiscovered science.
Okay.
So I have these different levels. It's sort of, if you've ever watched the show Expanse on Prime, that gives you an idea of the humans and the Earth science and technology level in my book, and then you switch to the other universe where the elves are and the magic and everything, and you're looking at more Star Trek meets Lord of the Rings. So it's more advanced. You're talking, instead of laser guns, you're talking phaser cannons, torpedoes, or magical blasts that are more quantum physics. And yes, I had to do a lot of research. I learned way more about certain things than I ever wanted to know, simply because I was pulling it from my adolescence, and this is how I had it in my brain to put it on paper. And so there's hints of Lord of the Rings, there's hints of Star Trek, Star Wars, The Expanse, Firefly. I was definitely classically a fan of the classics, Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland, Anne of Green Gables, read all of those, Shakespeare, but also some more modern ones, the Aragon series, Brandon Sanderson, those kind of things, J.K. Rowling. Just I always loved reading, and I love the idea that I'm finally presenting something for someone else to find the joy of reading. And hopefully, my goal for my writing has always been that I describe it in such a way that it pulls the readers in and they forget that they're flipping through pages and that they've inserted themselves into the scene.
Okay, and that leads me out from your stuff back to a little help, because
Right.
I did notice from when I first looked at it in 2024 to when I go to the website now, the
Mhm.
mark I forget what it's called, but whatever the marketplace where the creators are, the list is so long now. Are some of those kind of artifacts of someone who worked with you, made a thing, and so it's not an active thing, or all the people on the A Little Help website that are in that content creator section of all the people working on
Mhm.
stuff, are they all kind of active right now?
Well, we try and keep it as updated as possible. I'm always trying to find the dead links and stuff, and I've actually started talking to somebody to help me with that. But they are either individuals that we gave them a little boost, that's all they needed, and they're off flying outside of the A Little Help nest and doing their own thing, making their own nests. Or they tried it a little bit. They've got their one book or their little bit art, and they're just like, okay, that was too much. I'm going to come back to it, and they've just got that one uh, linked tree posting or something, or they're on deviant art and they've got just their art there. So we've got a lot different gambits. The small businesses are definitely still there. Some artists come and go. They're still present and they'd still take a commission, but a lot of them, it's about 50-50. Some of them have spread their wings and gone on and done their own thing. They just needed that extra little support in the beginning, and now they've got it. And sometimes they'll come back and say, "Hey, what do I do now that I'm making enough to do taxes? I'm freaking out. I've never done this before." Okay, breathe. We can get through this, and walk them through that process. So it's the directory that we have. I really, really want that to just stay organic and just be that one little thing where if they do not have a web present at all, at least they have that. But if they do, they've got something that's a click through. So they see us on our website, they click, and then it opens up to this huge expanse of whatever they've built.
And I did see the difference. There are some places that are obviously active businesses now, but sometimes also with creators, sometimes people have a book to get out of their system, or somebody wants to do commissions, but they're not that motivated to sit and do art every day themselves. So if someone wants them to make something, they make something. If someone has a project they want them to work on, great. But they're just not motivated enough. Like, I don't want to just on my own just keep doing all this. So I could see that mix of like people who put some stuff up, as you said, had like an offer for commissions, and just clearly had like they don't want to turn in, they just haven't turned into a business yet.
Exactly.
It's just an
Exactly.
artist taking commissions when somebody has them. Yeah.
And one thing I definitely wanted to do with that directory is, regardless of where you were in that spectrum, I wanted to keep it clean and not show any type of hierarchy. You're a creative, and that's actually the term that we prefer to use, as opposed to you're an artist, you're an author, you're a business owner, because I didn't want clicks. I wanted, we are all creating something and sharing it with the world. That is a creative. I don't care if you're making a widget, you're doing a book, you're doing a poem, you're doing art, whatever it is, or you're doing a little dance, or you're voice acting, you're doing a podcast. You're creating something and you're sharing it with more than just yourself. That is a creative, and by our definition. So I wanted to make sure that every entry there is pretty much standard and the same, regardless of what they are. The ones that just want that one little thing and that's all they're doing because they don't want to, overwhelm themselves. They just got that little poem book and that's it. They're not doing anything else. They have the exact same amount of information, their little headshot and their details, as someone who has a full blown website with multiple tabs and their big business and everything else.
So I will say, philosophically, I'm very much in support of that idea because with like you, I'm just like, you're making things, you have an idea. I guess there is a place for making a hierarchy, and there is a place for figuring out, well, this person's idea can make X amount of money, and this person's idea can make Y amount of money. And if I have to choose where to put my money, I'm going to go with that. I want more money or more people like it. But just the vote by the majority is like so tedious. The world is full of things that millions of people look at. We don't need that. So I did like the fact that when you go to the thing, it's neat to hear that that was intentional, because I do like the fact that it's just blocks that show a picture and tell about the thing. And then if there's a link, what the links are, versus, as you said, trying to curate it into a list to say, well, you're not really looking for writers, you're looking for artists. So just look at the artists. I do like the fact there's a lot of stuff there, but I like the fact, and I'm glad to hear there's intentional, that you just put all the people there. Regardless of
Yep.
whether they made one thing or 1,000 things, everybody shows up with the same kind of entry on this place. So, yeah,
Exactly. And the ones that have more stuff, and I tell them, this is for you, this is going to be a click through. Count this as free advertising for your big thing.
yeah,
And the ones who are very nervous and that just want, I'm just starting out, I only have my Deviant Art commission page. Okay, no worries. Guess what? Now you have a formatted page that you can send people to, or we'll just put ask for commissions. This is the email.
totally.
That's it. No worries. And so it really, I think it takes the pressure off of both people, because the ones who have the massive things, that's one less link that they have to deal with. But they know that it's an active click through. And the ones that are just testing the waters, that are really nervous, they know that they're going to get the exact same respect, the same honor that the big uns do. Just because they're little guppies doesn't matter. They're going to get the exact same service.
Yeah.